Hello, welcome to Hot Talk. It's our special countdown, 30-day countdown to December 7, election 2024. And once again, we'll bring you another exclusive interview. This time around with Honorable Alhaji Mubarak Mohammed Muntaka, the Member of Parliament for Asawase constituency in the Ashanti region. And if you're talking in anything Parliament, he's the man to go to. You're welcome to Hot Talk. Honorable.
Thank you very much and welcome to my house.
Thank you. How has it been? The last time I saw you was in Parliament. Parliament has been chaotic. What's happening?
Well, that's very difficult to tell because I know, when we were in the driving seat, you had to carry all this burden. Now you're also a spectator or a passenger, so you enjoy the ride. Sometimes passengers sleep whilst the driver and his mate are struggling to get you to your destination. So now we have the comfort of being passengers where we can not bother, we cannot bother ourselves with what we just follow what the leaders say we should do, and that makes it much easier than you trying to set the agenda. Yeah.
Well, so do you know when you are returning to Parliament? Because honestly, the country doesn't even know.
Honestly, I don't. I have no idea.
Do you think the back and forth, the brouhaha that even had to bring in the Supreme Court could have been avoided?
Well, I strongly believe that we could have avoided all this. I mean, I must say one of the most disappointing things for the 8th Parliament is what many of us thought would work that didn't work, which is trying to build more collaboration. I mean, try to know that you can't do it alone. So the government side will have to move away from the mentality of we are in charge and therefore we want to do as we please. And then the minority also know that, look, we are in a country where we've gotten to a point where you just don't have to oppose anything, but you have to be firm with your belief and then try to also move to the middle so that we could have the best of parliament that history could have. But unfortunately, I don't know, the numbers, instead of it helping us to move to the middle, I don't know what's happened. It's not pushed both sides to the extreme end, and it's becoming like a tug of war, which is not good for our democracy at all. And sometimes I look at it and I feel very sad that either many of us who are in the chamber are not really studying what democracy is about and what democracy stands for. I mean, it's not the best of governance, but there's no better one for it than the democracy that we have. And in a democracy, apart from having election, one of the two other things that are really required in a democracy is strong institutions and then compromises. And when people talk about compromise, people think that it means sell out. No. You can never have a democracy without a compromise. If you have a democracy that doesn't have a compromise, that's not a democracy. Because you should be able to sit and talk, give and take, move from your extreme end to the middle, the other side to move from its extreme end to the middle, with the belief that both of you mean well. So you mean well, you also have it in the back of your mind that your opponent also means well. So both of you, with this at the back of your mind, that both of you mean well, so that you are looking at it from a different angle, so you can come to the middle. That's the only time that democracy works. Unfortunately, I've been in that house for 2 decades. And over the period, we came to meet our seniors. I mean, I remember during the President Kufuor era, we moved from an era where people would not even want to see an NDC MP and MPP MP eating or talking together to a where we have now, some may even have their best friends on the other side, and we built bridges over the period, and we thought that we were going to solidify the bridges so that our democracy will become an icon and an enviable one. Unfortunately, we've used the 8th Parliament, in my view, to break most of the bridges. And I don't know into the future, regardless of who wins, regardless of the number that you may have, believe me, that house is going to be a very difficult one to manage. You have to require people who are really, really, really experienced on both sides to be able to get that house back to a point where reasoning is the order of the day. Instead of this extreme end, it's either my way or the highway.
We'll return to how difficult the 9th Parliament will be as you envisage. But will you say the 8th Parliament has been a failure?
It's now ended, but in my view, it's been very disappointing. Very, very. I mean, for those of us from the day one where we thought that let's set history, let's try to have a speaker from the other side, the reason why we did that was to let government wake up, to move from the slumber of I'm totally in charge, and to the reality that, oh, we need to adhere to the tenets of democracy, where you respect your opponent, where you believe that your opponent also means well, where you believe that you cannot do it alone, where you have to make a compromise, try to build bridges, strengthen the bridges that's already there. But unfortunately, I mean, that wish or dream of so many of us who fought so hard to have the kind of speaker from the other side, hoping that it will work. You know, our standing orders, I'm one of those, I mean, together with my senior brother, chairman, who fought so hard to say that, look, committees should not only be chaired by those in the majority, and that how standing orders have come. But with the kind of acrimonious environment that we are creating, I'm doubting whether into the 9th Parliament, I mean, if somebody, let's assume somebody is in opposition, he is chairing health committee, or he's chairing education committee, with this kind of acrimonious environment or this acrimony, I'm doubting whether this standing or the new standing orders will help us, because then it is okay, then this is the committee that we can use to create more havoc. Instead of this is a committee that we may use to demand more oversight, making sure that the right things are done. Now it becomes a tool for you do me, I do you, that kind of tennis, ping pong thing. And I'm beginning to get scared that if we are not careful, into the 9th Parliament, we may have more difficulty, especially if whoever wins. I'm very hopeful that NDC wins, but winning, then we must win with a very, very comfortable majority, like in 2017, where the President Nana Addo had a super comfortable majority. I mean, there are instances, you in that house, where they will say we should come on Saturday, they will say we won't come, and they will come, and they have the number to take decision and do everything. If you don't get that kind of majority, and you go to have the kind of President Atama's majority, I doubt whether the 9th Parliament will work.
Well, you fought tooth and nail, literally, on 7th January. I was in the house with you. The story about you and Carlos Ahenkra is there for everybody to witness. Is your disappointment just in the 8th Parliament, or also in the Speaker, that you fought so hard to bring to this particular chair?
When I was in leadership, I had the honest responsibility to speak publicly. Now, like I rightly told you right from the beginning, I'm not a passenger. And those burdens are no longer on me. So I would rather choose to be quiet about some of these things. But I must tell you that I'm disappointed in all the things that's happening in the House. I believe that as mature persons and people who believe that we cannot have any other alternative but democracy, we should have behaved completely differently from the way we are doing. And I'm not accusing one side, I'm accusing both sides, because both sides are taking very entrenched positions that are not helpful. And in some instances, both sides are taking decisions that are not in the national interest. I mean, at the point in time, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu and I were being called national interest for, because I believe that you cannot be in the parliament as a member of parliament and not rather prioritize the national interest. The national interest comes first before any other thing. But unfortunately, we are getting to a point where, I mean, I would say MPs even put their parties ahead of themselves, which that's not the way it's supposed to structure. The parties are supposed to be gatekeepers to help strengthen democracy, people who come in, but it is not for the parties to virtually hijack parliament. You have MPP writing, NDC writing to parliamentarians, telling them what to do. Tell me which democracy does that. There's no any democracy in the world where it works, where parties write to parliamentarians. I mean, in almost all the places where the democracy is entrenched, it is the parliamentarians that rather tell the party what to do. Because they are in the House, they are working in the national interest, and then they try to tease out what will be in the party interest. And the party interest is a subset of the national interest, which the parliamentarians are supposed to adhere. When you get to a point where now the subset is going to look like overshadowing the main, you have the kind of problem that we are. And I'm not accusing on one side. Both sides are doing that. And there's no way we can strengthen our democracy with the attitude that we are putting.
And here you are talking about the whip system. You will know better because you were the minority chief whip. Can we ever do away with that system?
No, that system is a very effective one. I mean, it's supposed equally to be a gatekeeper system. And the essence of the whip, and I mean, for those who were in a party leadership, sometimes they don't understand me when we go for party top meeting. And I'm telling them, no, please, let's not do this. Because your responsibility is to filter what the party wants. And equally filter what your members also want. So that you keep both in the middle. So it becomes reasonable in trying to whip members, because then you are grounded not only on party interests, but both party interests and national interests in tandem. Not having a situation where you are just doing it for the politics of it. So if you are a very effective whip, you will not be liked. I mean, that's one of the difficult things people don't know. I mean, I'm always thank God to this, and I say that I'm the longest serving whip this country has ever had. I mean, I've served as majority whip and I've served as minority whip. So I've seen it on both coins. And I say that the difficulty that you have as a chief whip is that most of the time, especially when you're in opposition, the party will not like you. Because they come with things and you say, no, we cannot do this. But when you are in government, you are liked because you are pushing to make sure that everything government is going through. So that's the dilemma of a whip, especially effective whip. Because you are supposed to be a gatekeeper system. And there are instances, I mean, I don't recall whether during the time that I was majority, whether you were in the House, where even ministers' business, I said, no, can we stand this thing down? Let's go and talk. Because some of the things that I say make sense. Can you tell us why? And there have been instances where it led to changes. But that's the work of an effective whip. You just don't keep a pipeline that's supposed to see clean water pass through and allow sewage to pass through it. That's if you estimate, it will tell you, the whip, your responsibility is to make sure that the pipeline is open for clean things to pass through. So when government too is also bringing, for lack of better word, in quote, dirty things, you are supposed to also be a filter to say, no. This thing, I think there are genuine difficulties. Can we look at it? And there have been several instances, whether from Minister of Defense, Minister of Finance, and most of the other ministers, they will tell you, I will be frank and brutal with it. I say, no. This thing that they are saying, I think it makes some sense. You need to have an answer for it. We are not just going to be a robot. Because you bring it, then we just go and do it. This doesn't sound convincing. And so you get that done. The same when you're in the minority. It's not anything that the party says one. Because sometimes the party gets frustrated. I mean, all the party hopes to do is to win the election. And sometimes with a greater respect, they want to win election even in a situation that is unethical. So they just push that, let's just do anything. As an effective whip, you are supposed to remind them. Because you see, having been in the House for long, I can tell you, look at what's happening. They are only being eaten up by their own, what do you call it, knives. They are getting daggered by the same knife that they sharpen. Because you see, in a parliament or any institutions, you are guided by three things. And I've said it repeatedly. And you can check from every well-established institution. You have the constitution of your country, which you have to adhere to. You have your own internal rules. So in the case of Parliament, you have what we call the standing orders. And then we have what we call institutional forbearance. How you've been doing your things. That had made it work. I get it. So sometimes these institutional forbearance are things that help you to work, not necessarily because they are legal or illegal, but it has always helped you to work. Anytime you try to deviate from them, you'll be creating problem for yourself. And unfortunately, when we came to the, I think, 7th Parliament, where the MPP had overwhelming majority, they started abusing some of the forbearance. I mean, some of the things that we've been doing that has been working. So you see that Professor Quay was the first to break some of our practice, where he declared a CMA seat vacant. And I remember very well, that time, many of us who were in leadership said that was not right. I don't know how we are going to answer this. If those, sometimes I say, the journalists, you are not doing very well. Because the things that we said when Professor Quay did that, how come that today we are saying something different from what we said that time? But who caused it? He. Because there have been, I mean, I can count at least 4 instances where we've had this situation. And the House scaled quietly.
GHOne.
GHOne was most recently. Boniface Abubakar Siddiq was independent from Salga. I mean, Rashid Bawa was independent from Akan. And they later filed as MPP. What happened? Well, check, what did the House decide? The House made a decision. Then we came to Busumi Frehu. He too. Then you also have GHOne. And the interesting thing is that during GHOne, President Mahama was the president. And then the speaker was NDC speaker, Banfordado. How did we treat it? Then we now have a situation where Professor Kwe now tried to change the path. And we're drawing his attention. When you do that and you leave your own practices, you'll be digging yourself. But they thought at that time, because they had the overwhelming majority, it was good for them. Today, that's what is eating them. And my worry for every parliamentarian to have at the back of his mind, when you're in opposition, you are potential people in government. So anything that you are doing, just know that when you are in government, it will be played back to you. Well, so just be careful about the things that you do. I'm not saying that so relax. No, you have to be stringent and be careful so that you don't be seen as double standard individuals. Because the things that you do in opposition, when you get into government and you want to do what those in government then did, you'll be reminded that when you are in opposition, these things you oppose it. So what reason do you have to say that others should not oppose it? So I always say that we have to be measured. One, making sure that you protect the state interest, protect your party interest, but in doing all this, have at the mind the survival of your institution. Because, I mean, all these things that we are doing, if there's no democracy, there will be no parliamentarian.
Well, talking about that, the trouble for the 9th Parliament might be that you have many of your members who might lose their primaries, internal primaries. I'm talking about BET, NDC, and PP, going independent now and then still holding their offices as members of Parliament, because that's the verdict from the Supreme Court, that filing processes to switch allegiance and contest doesn't mean that you forfeit your status as an MP. The only time that will happen is if you proclaim that you have deserted one party for the other. Were you surprised by that verdict?
Well, frankly speaking, I am not. I mean, this Supreme Court has not been too predictable. I mean, it's been too predictable. To the extent that you know very much virtually everything that goes there. Even if in the morning they say it is blue because it is one person in government, and in the afternoon that same blue thing is presented to them because the person wants it to now be white, it's most likely they'll say it's white. So, one, I'm not surprised. But looking at our own practices, how we practice this thing over the period. I mean, I've seen, Victor Bowo as independent candidate. I mean, so many. You can go and check the history of the 4th Parliament. So many. And how did we treat it ourselves? Unfortunately, I'm saying that the House treated it just as the Supreme Court is saying. Someone may say, well, during this time, it was not sent to the Supreme Court, so the House itself managed it on its own. But this time that we expected them to adhere to the law or to the Constitution. Well, the sad thing about this thing is that I keep saying that when someone has the mandate to make a pronouncement and he makes a bad pronouncement, what do you do?
Tell me, what do you respect the pronouncement or you disregard it?
That's the challenge. It's like Parliament passing a bad law. I say that because in your view it's a bad law, you are not going to adhere to it. That's the difficulty. And I always say this with all sincerity, that in all the things that we do, as painful as sometimes they may be, we need to look at the survival of our states, the survival of our institutions, and that calls, in my view, for even when we say the constitutional review, maybe have to look at the processes of putting judges, because you know that when things become critical, that's where it may end. So what is the process? Because we have a situation where it's supposed to be bipartisan, where Parliament plays a role, but it is simple majority. So because of the simple majority nature of it, if you are in government and you even have, like you've seen the last time, when they brought I think some 2 judges where we had to vote.
Yes.
And one got what, 138, the other one got 139.
Yeah.
Just put 1 and 2. But imagine if it were 2/3. There was no way they would have passed.
That's true.
So if it is 2/3, it is going to force the person in government to discuss the nominee with the opposition. Because you know that with 2/3, it will be very difficult for you to scale the house. So you'll be forced to say that, oh no, Party A, I want to present Ibrahim. What is your view? No, after Ibrahim, because of ABCD, we cannot say, oh, okay, then maybe we can bring Yakubu or Kojo. What about Kojo? Oh, Kojo, yeah, Kojo is fair-minded. We will not mind supporting. That way, you'll be doing it in a more properly bipartisan than the way it is. Now we say it's bipartisan, but you come to the House with a simple majority, you pass through. Like, how can you put a Supreme Court judge where a House of 275, you have as many as 136 or 137 voting against that person, and the person becomes a Supreme Court judge, knowing the importance of it. And you see, some of the parties seem to be playing super smart. I mean, look at the House, look at the Supreme Court, and you have President Kufuor still has a nominee. President Amos doesn't have a nominee, and President Mahama has only one nominee. And you ask, which were the kind of persons that were put in there? They maybe sincerely put people who truly deserve to be there, so they retired in good time, whilst others are deliberately maybe parking it and putting people that they think will be there for a very long period of time to do their bidding. So if they are there to do their bidding, and then something goes there and they did their bidding, well, that's the institution that you've created. And you have to live with these consequences. Yeah.
Finally, on this, do you expect the Speaker to recall Parliament very soon? And do you have time to attend to that call?
Honestly, even if Parliament were sitting, I want to believe that within this week, Parliament will have to rise for election. Because 3 weeks to election, you cannot keep parliamentarians in the House and expect that they will be there to run business. 3 weeks to election. So I don't see how in these last 3 weeks you expect parliamentarians to come. And believe me, with the kind of acrimony, I don't even think quorum can be established, not alone the number to take decision. Because, I mean, I don't see if there's something urgent in my constituency now. 3 weeks to election, I'll have to leave it and come to Parliament. I'll prefer that I'd rather be thinking about maintaining my seat in the next 3 weeks than to go and be spending another 1 week or two in Accra when my constituency there are so many issues I have to be running around. You know, the electoral process has started, the electoral commission has started moving things, and they have started looking at meetings where collation will be done, where all this, and you cannot be sitting in Accra and expect all these things happening in your constituency and then you think that it is safe. So, especially those of us who are in like the Lions Den and those who are in the marginal constituency and all that, you cannot expect them to be on both sides, both NDs and NPP. And my fear is that looking at the way the numbers are, around this time, if you call the House, I doubt whether you are going to get any reasonable attendance. But
there are urgent government businesses that must be attended to. Expenditure in lieu of appropriation, that's urgent. Once the Appropriation Act expires, there's a need for government to be able to spend from the consolidated fund. How about that?
Well, I mean, our prayer is that this election doesn't goes into a runoff. If it doesn't go into a runoff, then Parliament still has some 3 weeks after the election to be able to do all those things. But my prayer is that both sides should begin talking and reasoning to avoid a situation where maybe even that 3 weeks is wasted. Well, if you come back after election and you are going to continue the kind of things that are currently happening, that 3 weeks will be wasted. And believe me, whoever wins, you will need votes on accounts. That will be able to sustain you up to March to do your own budget. So if you don't find a way of working together to get some of those critical things done, that means we are going to run into real difficulty and a big quagmire as a country. And I don't think we want to get there.
Finally, some of your colleagues have said they are not returning to Parliament until after the elections. Neil Antevanderpoel is on record to have said that. Is that something you support?
Well, I'm saying that because, I mean, you have a whip, you have leadership, and depending on the business that is there and the rationale behind them, if the leaders decide that you should come. For me, I mean, having been a senior member of the House and leadership, and also having the advantage of maybe able to fly in 1 hour, being in Accra, and if something is very urgent, well, I could fly, go, and come back. But those who are far away, who needs a whole day to travel, and need a whole day to travel back, so, I mean, needing about 3 days to really move out of the country and come back, that may be very difficult for them. Not because they may not want to respond to the call, but it is almost, I mean, impractical for them to be able to leave their constituency, travel for a whole day or a day and a half to come to Parliament. And if they are going back, they will use also about the same thing, a day and a half to get back to their constituency. That will be extremely difficult for them. And not because they may not want to respect the leadership or the call, but it is just not practical for them to be able to do it.
Well, we zooming into the constituency very soon, but there's this question I'm sure I'll have to ask you to give you the opportunity to respond to it. You mentioned that you've been in leadership before, yes, majority, minority, chief whip. Now, like you mentioned, you are a follower in Parliament. Does that make you bitter?
Oh, how? Why should? I mean, believe me, God is my witness. I'm at peace, complete peace with myself. Sometimes you don't know the kind of burden that you are carrying until you put it off. I get it, and sometimes it's good to also observe from afar and see how things are. I mean, nevertheless, it was an opportunity. It's just that the way it was done that we disagree with. I mean, the very day we entered those offices, we knew that there will be a day that will be walking out of them. I mean, you have former leaders in the house like Avoka who are there, Rashid Pepo who are there, and others. So why should you be bitter about it? It's just that the way it was done that all of us had concern. I'm outside that no, we are fine. Everybody is working in his constituency to make sure that he or she is not only retaining his or her seat, but also helping other MPs that may be vulnerable and may need your help. So I've been to Wenchi, I've been to Salaga, I've been to so many other places trying to help others. I mean, how can a bitter person be doing all those things? No, I mean, I'm at complete peace with myself.
Yeah, talking about former leaders, Oseche Mensah, you didn't mention him, your good friend. Were you surprised at that move taken by the MPP as well to change him?
Well, let's say that a lot of things happened that were not right. But I want to believe for those who really know what parliamentary practice is, will have appreciated the role of experience in this crisis period. That's all I would just say. Because if the very experienced ones were there, I want to believe that maybe we didn't get to where we are.
I've been following your campaign, house to house, meeting interest groups, community engagement. So how's it going now?
Well, you know, one of the things about Asawase and myself is that I don't take elections lightly. Because I believe, one, I have a disadvantage of my location. I'm in the Lion's Den. So I always have that at the back of my mind. And I also know that Asawase has ever fallen to MPP before in 2000. So if you underestimate the people, they will give you a shock. If you underestimate the location that you are, you get a shock. So with all this together, I give it my best. And I always tell my constituents that, look, I'm always grateful for what they've done for me. Very few people get this kind of opportunity where people honor you by putting their trust in you to lead them for 4 years, for 8 years, for 12 years, for 16, for 20. And that is a huge, huge responsibility and privilege. And I remain forever, eternally grateful to them. Mine is that any day they decide that they don't want me, I'll still thank them. But I won't sit for people to bash in people or try to steal the election from me. No, that one there by the grace of God.
Are there attempts to do that?
It goes with my faith. The Holy Prophet Alhassan says that don't cheat, but don't allow yourself to be cheated.
Are there attempts for that to happen?
For myself, my belief is that I have to keep my eyes widely open, whether people are making an attempt or are not making an attempt. My assumption is that I must do everything to prevent my election from being stolen. And with that kind of attitude, you cannot relax. I mean, you have to give it your very, very, very best. I mean, training your agent and making sure you have the right agent, making sure that you do your stimulation exercise to make sure that everything that's supposed to happen on the D-Day is right. You reach out to as many of your constituents as possible. Get them well informed about the things that you've been able to do and what you hope to do and all that. So that doesn't come easy. So you see that our day starts around 6 with a house to house, sometimes up to about 9, and then we'll come, just take our bath, and by 10 o'clock we are in town attending all other programs. I mean, we go back to mini rallies or sometimes house to house if it's a weekend after 3:30, and then we have another mini rally in the evening. And we have days that we are on radio, like today, Friday, you are on radio for 2 hours. I mean, Sunday, you are on radio for 2 hours. And it's been like that continuously. Even with that, you try to steal some time to go out to help others and come back and all that. So it's been very, very hectic. I mean, and very stressful. But sometimes, with luck on your side and God being on your side, you are healthy to be able to carry out all those runs. So you thank God that you are healthy and strong to be able to do it. I mean, people who are even younger than me are not able to have the energy to do that. So I continue to be grateful to God that even with my age, I have that level of energy to be able to run around and carry out this campaign in a very effective way.
And you've done this for more than 2 decades. You came through a by-election, and since then, you've never looked back. Last time, your numbers went up, but that was against the former MCE, Alhaji Alidu Aseidu. This time around, you have a different contender in the person of Manaf Ibrahim. Does that pose a bigger challenge for you?
Not at all. You see, if you recollect, I've contested, several people have contested me. And sometimes the advantage they have is that they've never occupied the office. So they just go around telling the people anything. Oh, when I come, I'll do this, when I come, this, when I come, that. And sometimes it's very difficult because people have not tried them. And they've never occupied office that you can use to measure them. So with that, I had Ambassador Babaladi, because an ambassador, most of his work was foreign. So you'll be able to tell how much he's been able to do. Dr. Bala was a lecturer. So Nana Entry too was a private business person. And when Haludi came for the first time, the same, because he didn't also occupy an office, it was very difficult. Because the person says anything, and you don't have any way to measure. Then he came, he has occupied office. Then I said, oh, ask him. It's the same with Manaf. He was a presidential staffer. So my argument is that when you were presidential staffer, what were you able to do for Asawase? What did you champion for Asawase? And sometimes when he goes to meet the young guys, oh, I wasn't sent. I said, we didn't vote for President Nanado, to be a spectator. We voted for him to develop the country, to create employment, to do all those things. Once you were in that office as a presidential staffer, they were recruiting. How many young men did you assist to get recruited? They were building infrastructure, schools, roads. How much road were you able to fight for your constituents? How many schools were you able to get built for your constituents? And he has no answers to those things. And all he thinks is that you can go around to dish out money. And this constituency, I can bet you, that's why my slogan is Bakudibene. It is not money, it is love. So I'm very optimistic that if he's not careful, well, Aludu's performance will be better than his. Because as a young person who had a huge opportunity at the Flaster House, he didn't utilize it to the benefit of the constituency. He went in to amass wealth. Yes, maybe he succeeded in amassing wealth. But the young people in Asawase have a basic question. When you got the opportunity, what were you able to do?
We will come and find out why you have used the opportunity to the benefit of the people. But the other message out there is that you've been in for too long. Give another person the opportunity to occupy that seat. What do you say to that?
Well, I'm not the longest serving MP in Kumasi. Honorable Osechi Mensah was to the 28 years. And by the grace of God, with all humility, I know my 20 years has transformed Asawase better than the 28 years of Chairman was to transform Swami. And that is something that Kumasi people say, not me. And you see, there's this notion, I keep this analogy. Why do you plant a mango tree? Because you want it to bear fruits and probably provide some shade. Well, you plant a tree, mango tree, it has given you the shade with very good fresh air, and every year it gives you a lot of fruits. Then someone comes to tell you that, oh, this your tree is bearing fruit, it's really giving us shade and fresh air. But it's kept long, can you cut it? As well, we'll plant a new one. Does that make sense to you? If the tree was not bearing fruit, all its leaves have wind off, so it's not even providing shade. They said, no, this tree, the purpose for which we planted it is being defeated. So why not just cut it for firewood so that we can plant a new one? But you have a tree that is bearing fruit, giving you shade. In fact, it's bearing fruit beyond imagination, because you have other trees, mango trees around, and you see how those other mango trees are bearing fruit. In Kumasi, we are 11 MPs. You see it. And then come and say that, oh, this one that is bearing so much fruit. The whole analogy that is kept long. Let's cut it. It doesn't make sense. And I also use this analogy. You go to the hospital and then they say that, oh, welcome. After the diagnosis, we realize that you need a surgical procedure. But we have this doctor that has done so well. I mean, he's been doing this procedure for 20 years. And nobody had died in his hands. But oh, we have this young doctor that has come. I mean, he's shabrain, very muscular, very young. And but he hasn't done this procedure before. Who will you choose to do the procedure for you?
Well, let's
because you'll be looking for somebody who has experience, right? And you know in the house, I mean, with all humility and with the greatest of respect, I mean, you know that in Parliament today, if they come and they want to talk about those who understands the running of the house, I cannot be taken out.
Yeah, some who think you might be a speaker one day. Is that something you are looking forward to?
When you are a politician, how do you limit yourself to say that, oh, after this one day, I cannot get there? That would be a very defeative. So people ask me, oh, do you have presidential ambition? I say, if I'm a politician and I tell you that, oh, I will never want to be president, am I not being foolish? If you say, do you want to be speaker? And say, oh, I don't know, I have a speaker, it's not something I'm thinking. I'll be foolish to say that. I have what it takes to be able to do it, right? But obviously, what I keep telling people, I am not ready to hurt anybody to achieve those things. I mean, I know that by God's own time. And I didn't sit down, plan to be a member of Parliament, as you rightly said. Someone we sent died, and everybody said, oh, and I was running away, people were chasing me in. Maybe another opportunity will come for you to serve in some other positions that God has destined. You cannot rule them out. You rather be praying that when those times come, you have the strength and the wisdom to be able to carry out those offices. But obviously, one of the biggest problems we have in Parliament today is the level of the attrition rate. The attrition rate is also emanated from this monetization of our democracy. People think that they can then use money to come in. And when they get there, most of the things that they promise, they are not able to fulfill. And then before you realize, people throw them out. And you have a house of 275, and almost all the time, I've been here before, more than 100 members are new members. How can that house grow? So when the few experienced ones are there, and yet all the slogan is that, oh, they've kept long. You heard Joe Biden, when he was bowing out, said he's been in Congress alone for 43 years. I mean, the JFKs, the Kennedys. I mean, legislative thing is a lifetime thing. It's not for something that, oh, you've tasted some, let me also taste. People look at it from a job perspective. Oh, you've chopped some, let me also come and chop. It's not about chopping and this, it's about service. So if the person is useful and is still serving, why do you want to change? Because one of the things that you are certain is that you know the person's style, his capability. As compared to somebody who is not telling that, oh, give me an opportunity. You are not sure. So it's the same I know that I tell people. This tree you know that is bearing fruit. You are certain it's bearing fruit. And on the average, it bears more fruit than all the other trees. Now someone is telling you, cut it and plant a new one. What is your guarantee that even the one that you are going to plant will just... So obviously, experience cannot be trade-off for just the flimsy thing that you've kept long. I'm privileged that I'm lucky that I went to Parliament very young. I mean, I was in my mid-30s when I went to Parliament. So even after all the 20 years, we are still looking young. So, but people are looking at the duration. But I keep saying the duration. Honorable Keti Amon, 24 years. Chairman Sabonsu, 28 years. Honorable Colin Zora, 28 years. Honorable Avoka, 24 years. I mean, Honorable Right Speaker Babin, he did 28 years. I get it. So if someone has done 20 years and say he's kept too long, what is your measure? What is the yardstick?
Why will the people of Asawase return you to the 9th Parliament?
Well, because I've remained very sincere to them. I mean, in this constituency, everybody, even those who hate me, will tell you, if he says something, he does it. And I always thank God for that. You can't put pressure on me to say something that I cannot do. And things that I cannot do, I don't hesitate to tell people that this one, I cannot do it. If you give me 100 years, I cannot do it. I'll give you one example. I was in the office and then someone came to my office and said that he gave me a site plan. I said, oh, I can say a site plan. he has this land, and he wants me to build 2-bedroom apartment for him. I started looking around because I was alone in the office with him. Hey, this guy, is he normal? Then he qualified and said that I've been following NDC since 1990. So I was, oh, okay. Then I now became confident. He has basis for his argument. Because he's been serving NDC since 1992, he deserved to have a 2-bedroom house from the MP. Then I said, oh, my brother, you see, let me be frank with you. Even if you give me 100 years, I can't do this for you. Do you know why? He said, no. I said, your like in this constituency are thousands. But if you had come to me and said that, MP, you see, looking at this picture, I'm managing some 2-bedroom. I've gotten to roofing. In fact, I've even tried. They said I needed 7 packets. I put all the rafters, the woodwork. The 7 packets is becoming a problem. And now the rains are going to set in. And I'm afraid that with the rains, they may get destroyed. And I am seeking help. I said, oh, my brother, you've done well. Maybe after 7 packets, I can have, but also my contribution, maybe 3 packets or 2 packets. That makes sense. Oh, no, I've finished roofing, I need plastering. But now it's so difficult. I said, oh, then let me also help you with 10 bags of cement or 20 bags. I said, but you bring a bare land for me to build. I can assure you, even if you give me 100 years, I can't do that for you. He was never happy, but that is the truth. Because I can't lie to him. I can't tell him that, oh, you pray when we win. That's a lie. Because there's no way. How can I build a 2-bedroom? You are not a constituency chairman. You are not constituency executive. You are not ward executive. Probably some remote branch executive. Even if you are constituency chairman, is it that practical, that easy, that a constituency executive, I have about 28 of them, you promise that, oh, you build 2-bedroom houses for them? You know that you are lying to them. In this constituency, everyone, even those who dislike me, will tell you, I'm one of the only MPs in this country, maybe among the very, very few, who sit on radio. And you go to my Facebook account, 2020, you see it, 2016, you see it, where I'll sit there and tell you, common fund, year by year, how much it came and what I used it for, with evidence of the total amount of money that came from administration of common fund, with receipts from the assembly, how I made those payments, to account for every person. I'm one of the few MPs who are doing that. And then I'm sure when you came and you were driving through my constituency, I mean, I'm very proud to say I have a Zongo without dust.
In the roads?
It's a Zongo without dust. When I first became MP, you won't believe it. This place was like an abandoned war zone. People just believe that, oh, these are Zongo people, they don't deserve any development. It's one of the reasons why I fought to take us out of KMA. Because even when you are in Accra and you lobby things to come to Kumasi, before you realize, they take it to other areas. By the time you come to Accra and say, I thought I brought this in, they said we were going to come. They said, oh, it came in the name of KMA. And they came here, we have our own prioritized areas. I said, so when we had power, I went and wept to Professor Moss, the late, may so rest in peace. I said, Daddy, I want to be carved out of Kumasi. Other than that, my place will not develop. That time, my colleagues in Kumasi said I was creating the Zongo district, and they fought it in Parliament, but unfortunately, we had a number, so we passed it, and we created our municipal. Today, they are all running to create municipal out of Kumasi, because when we did, believe me, most of our Arabic schools were wooden structures. Today, all of them are blocked now, under courtesy and most schools under trees. I was also admitting schools in wooden structures. And we changed all this. There was only one secondary school in this constituency when I first became an MP, Kumasi Academy. Today there are 6. I mean, Tawheed in Akotia Line, Nurul Amin in Asawase, Ibadur Rahman in Borbine, Sakafia in Sawaba, Pakusa Sina had the E-block, we had 1, and then the Kumasi Academy itself. So 6 secondary schools. Believe me, a lot are changed in the constituency. Yes, I agree. If you meet a young person who is voting for the first time, when I became an MP, he or she was not born. So he didn't know how the constituency was. So when you are telling him or her the transformation, he cannot imagine it. It is the parents. So yes, I must admit, some of the challenges I have is with the youth. Because the youth don't really see. And you see, if you are not in charge of paying your own fees, and somebody is helping with a scholarship, that takes that burden from your parent. It's your parent who feel and appreciate the help. You don't feel it. So some of them, you're giving them scholarships on the MP, and then aside that, artisanship. In this constituency, since 2015, you come to my office, you tell us what you want to learn. We don't come and say, oh, we have 3 models, choose one. No. So people come and say, oh, I want to learn I want to go and learn shoemaking. Which master do you want? The only time we advise you is that, for example, if you are from, say, Akutala, and you say you want to go and learn in Asokoro, the lorry fare alone is going to be a disincentive. So we try to get a master within your own neighborhood so that you can easily work from home. Since 2015, when we send you and you are passed, we buy machines for you. And we've been doing that. As we speak now, we have over 1,900 apprenticeships with several models that when they get passed, we buy the machines. And you can go to my Facebook account and you see some of the distribution, industrial machine, hairdressing machine, welding equipment, and things that we give to the young people. But I say it again, it is your parents who were going to buy those things, who really feel the help, not the person. Very few of the young ones appreciate and say that, oh, had it not been this, I would have been stranded. Because for him, it would have been his parents' burden to get him or her those things, which you have taken off. I mean, I schooled in this community, and there were instances that I had tattered cloth in Kumasi, barefooted. So as an MP, I instituted free distribution of uniform, and we distribute uniform to every people in the constituency, and we have 78 basic schools. Every year, I make sure that we provide furniture to the schools. So you go to the school, it will be very difficult for you to find children lying on the bare floor, writing like you see in so many other constituencies, because consistently, every year, I make sure that we do furniture to support the schools. So we've done so much that I believe that sometimes it explains why you don't see the voter fatigue. Because the expectation is that as you keep long, your vote should be dwindling. Yes. But I mean, look at the 2020. It was much bigger than even the first time I came. Because I believe that people do appreciate the little that I'm able to do. But you also know, all the things that an MP is able to do is driven by government policies. If government, for example, I mean, the young guys, sometimes some of the complaints that we don't have an ASO that is completed in our community. When we were in government, it was not part of our government policy to do ASO. So ASO was not being there. It was under MPP. And when MPP did, look, I'm a member of the Mines and Energy Committee. Ghana Gas gave me one. If you go and check on the Ghana Gas station, the Babu ASO is completed. So I've been fighting there. They said that, oh, it's because the contractor gave them a deadline that they trusted that he was going to finish. Meanwhile, it's not completed. Meanwhile, in their records, it's completed. And they also claim they are putting a lot of pressure on the contractor to finish. But I know it is the scheming by this partisan thing. If you finish it, then he's going to have an advantage and those kind of things. You have roads, I mean, you were driving towards my house, you see. The roads get abandoned because, I mean, this is Asawase.
It truncated at the point we were surprised.
Yes, and that's the thing. So you start a road and they abandon for 8 years. And then they are saying that the people should vote for them. And I said, I don't know the logic that you are using. You should have worked far more than me to justify why the seat should come to you. I mean, look at the Asawase market. One of the most beautiful edifices that we have in the constituency, community library. You saw that I challenge anybody to show me a community that has a community library that can sit 500 people. It's only in Ababu that you can find that in my constituency. So we've done a lot to justify why we should be given another opportunity. But obviously, the rhetorics and the vague promises, I'm going to promise you what I cannot guarantee. Because one, anything that I will have to do is hinge on the common fund and the resources that come our way. But the bulk of it is from government side. So if my government is there, you saw it when my government was there, how we were able to push and get so many things done. Now when your mother's rival is in the kitchen, you don't expect to get a bowl of fufu with a lot of meat on it. Sometimes if they even so you'll be struggling with a lot of developmental issues that you want to do, like you saw some of these roads that have been there and abandoned for all this because it is Asawase. That there's very little you can do about it. And then even sometimes I remember GHOne projects that were given to us even when we were in leadership. And mine doesn't get done. They don't do mine. And you complain to everybody, oh, we'll make sure they do it, they don't do it. But you see that it's a cohort of, oh, no, if those things are done, you have an edge. So naturally, your people will have to understand that once your mother's driver is in the kitchen, they should not expect a lot of food as when your mother was in the kitchen.
And talking about that, how is the region looking? You have only 3 seats. You talked about the fact that
No,
you are in the
4.
Lions. 4. You talk about the fact that you are in the Lions Den. Last time, in fact, it was part of the target of the MPP to take those seats, away. How is it looking now?
Well, I mean, I think they should even be more careful this time. I'm very optimistic. If they are not careful, we may take some 3 or 4 more. I mean, I see some 3 or 4 more. That is possible if we put our ass together and we do the right things. Generally, my expectation is that we'll keep all the 4 and then possibly try and make an attempt on maybe 2, I think very strongly, 3 possible, 4 possible. So I'm hoping that at least our seats should be able to move to about 6.
Presidential, then people start getting 85%.
Oh, that's daydreaming. That's complete daydreaming. Because I keep telling that just check what was their best performance ever. We are saying we want 32%. Our best performance was about a little over 28. So we are talking about 3 to 4 percentage points, right? In every estimate, they'll tell you that, oh, that's a reasonable one. And you are talking about 10 to 11 percentage movement. I mean, you know that with all this mess, with all this crisis, yes, I know they have an advantage of having a running mate from the region, right? But look, when they had power, they promised Asante the Aunaga Junction overhead. It's not even been started. The Swami, they always start in an election year. I mean, until very recently, there was not much to show for all the investment. I mean, look, with NDC 122 billion debt that is claimed we left, that they were calling up PPP. If you come to Kumasi, I'm not talking about Swansea, I'm talking about Kumasi, the Asqa bypass, which has eased traffic tremendously. The completion of the Sofo line, the Kedetia market, the Atonsu market, the Tafo market. Leave at Swansea. I'm not mentioning anything at Swansea. Look at the police hospital, the military hospital. Look at the water project in Mampong, Nkumewu, the Kumewu hospital, the Konongo. I mean, now they are telling us they are not up for us to really see what is under their sleeves. But the finance minister's own the public debt is now at 761 billion, meaning that they've added about 639. This is their stronghold. What do they have to show for it? You just think the people with a greater respect because they like the party, so they will even come out even more. Your expectation should be struggling to cope with your number that you had, not to, for it to dwindle. But not to expect that it's going to escalate to the extent that you are going to have 85%. But, well, they say elections are sometimes shocker. Let's John, that fear delegates. So this time they say fear voters. Yes.
Now you talk about a running mate. You think his influence has been felt? I'm talking about Napo. He's been campaigning. He's been talking. Has whatever he's been doing met your expectation? Yeah, you're friends. You were in Parliament together.
To be very frank with you, me, I've not been following what he's doing because I'm so soaked with my headache and selling my product, which is your mama. I mean, and my other MPs. I mean, I've been to Dubiase, I've been to Ejura, I've been to Dobron. So, I mean, trying to help my colleagues to keep their seat and also keep my seat. And talking about the good of His Excellency John Dramani and what he's capable of doing. He has been tried and tested and is capable of even doing more for the region, even though this region largely and predominantly is MPP. But we believe that it's also our stronghold. I always argue that Asante is NDC stronghold because with the exception of Greater Accra, NDC gets more vote than any other region. No other region gets more votes for NDC apart from Greater Accra. So for us, it's also a stronghold. So we are busy selling our product. As to what the other product is it like you are selling your flat screen and you are going around to be looking at how other flat screens are doing? No, your focus is to tell the people how good your flat screen is and why they should be buying yours. So honestly, I've not been paying attention to what they are doing.
Well, talking about that, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is targeting your strongholds, and that will be the Zongos and the northern part of the country. There are some Islamic clerics who have openly, including the Ashanti Regional Chief Imam, said that Muslims will have no option than to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Well, I'm worried when they say that. I think one of our large gatherings during a Maulid, I was pleading with them that especially the very opinion leaders, they should be measured with their utterances, because you see, we are in a secular state where we the Muslims are even minority. When you begin championing things based on religion, what are you implying? You are indirectly inciting the other religious group that, oh, then let's wake up. Because the moment you turn into a religious warfare, you'll be disadvantaging yourself. And then I also tell them that the reason why most of them should be measured is that, you see, you are opinion leaders that people look up to you. You may have your preference, you may have your choice, but it's best not to publicly say in there. Because when there's a problem, it has to be dealt with. You are supposed to become a mediator. And Ibrahim, you and I, someone keeps saying that, oh, Ibrahim is this, Ibrahim is good, Ibrahim is that. And then there's problem, they say that person should come and mediate. Right from the word go, I say, no, I won't agree. Even if what the person is saying is the most sensible thing, I'm going to be biased by the thinking that it's because he or she likes you. So that's my worry for our clerics, because you see, we are in a secular state, and Muslims, we are in a minority. So we should be the last to be publicly talking about this thing, because when you do, believe me, you hit yourself. And then most especially when it is our opinion leaders and the clerics who are leading this time, when they do that, they will be creating problems for themselves, because then whether the persons win or not, what is happening is that in that community you are seen to be a biased person, and I don't think it's good for our clerics and imams.
Yeah, well, before we go, Asawase has always come up as a flashpoint, as a hotspot. I'm sure this election year is no exception. Tension quite high. First of all, what are you doing to ensure that those tensed up situations do not get out of hands?
I mean, I'll also invite you to my Facebook account to check Fridays, almost every Friday. Just check all the Fridays. I'm sure maybe the last 10 or so Fridays that I've been in the constituency and attending to Friday prayers and the sermons. I have one question for the youth. I tell them that your life is not worth for any politician. Not me, not anybody. I mean, I have adult children. If being violent is a good thing, let my children come and lead it. Because, I mean, they are more or less one of the direct beneficiaries of me being an MP. And I keep saying it, in this constituency, my children, anywhere they go, just saying that, oh, you are Muntaka's son. Even the poor woman selling banana is willing to dash you because your father is an MP, right? So why would they have comfort? Why will I hide them? And then I'll come and use you because I want to win. And that process, you may lose your life, you may get hurt, you may be wounded, you may tarnish yourself. And I always said that this will check for me to know that, oh, we are voting and even campaign and know what voting is. It's during Liman's time. Imagine I was part of the Vandal guys and got hurt. Well, I couldn't have been an MP. And I've said that this MP position, one day you could be, or maybe you are even going to be a president for us. Why would you want to exchange your life for me? Why would you want to cut your finger? Why would you want your finger to be cut because of me? I'm not saying that don't canvass for whoever party that you are, but it's about a choice and doing the right thing. You've got an opportunity to be an electoral officer or somebody to assist the electoral commission. Why would you want someone to come and influence you that, oh, when people come, the papers, give them 2-2. Or, I mean, don't put indelible ink in somebody's hand so the person can come back and vote. When you facilitate those things, remember you are the one going to create confusion and violence within the community. So I've been saying and consistently been advising the youth, even in our own rally place, the mini rallies that we do in the event, check. You see, towards the tail end of my speech, I always caution the youth, so that look, let's be civil, let's concentrate on our good message. We have so much to tell, so much good stories to tell, that we don't need to engulf ourselves in any violent act. And in one of the gatherings, when myself and Manaf were there, I swore by the God that created us, Allah, and I promised that I was never going to be involved in anything that will mar this election. And even if NDC is going to do it, me, I would stop it. I want him to do the same. He couldn't. But I'm not looking at, because he's not doing it. I have said it. My style is that I won't cheat, but I won't allow you to cheat me. We will not be on the attack, but definitely will be on the defensive to make sure that we protect the ballot, we protect our voters, we'll do the right thing, and we will insist that others do the right thing too, so that at least we'll have a very peaceful election.
Well, before I think we find out what yes, I must say that this engagement was supposed to be a Voters Connect, which will have been a community engagement with the incumbent MP and then also the NPP candidate, Manaf. But of course, he had mentioned that he's not ready to engage the media. So as we wrap up our conversation, Alhaj, what do you have to say finally to constituents, the entire nation watching you this morning on GHOne TV?
Well, what I would say is that I know that this election is a very critical one, because we have a sitting vice president contesting a former president. And I know everybody is making it look as if it is a make it or break it. And my plea with all of us, we should be civil as much as possible. We should try to put the national interest above any other interest. Whether you find yourself working in the electoral commission, whether you find yourself working as a police officer, whether you find yourself working as a military officer, whether we, the direct politicians, our supporters, we should just know, as difficult as democracy is, and with all its flaws, there's no any better alternative. So this is what we've chosen to do. And my plea is that, please, let's do everything to protect this country by doing the right thing. Don't look at what someone is saying and say that, because the person is not doing this. No, you do the right thing first, and then you demand others to also do the right thing. I think if we do that, it's going to help us. For the youth, please, I beg you. I was very sad when I heard in Ayawaso there was a gunshot, and my heart bled. That Friday when I had the opportunity to speak in the box, I said, why should the one who shot be a Muslim and the one that was shot being a Muslim? What do you want to really achieve? The politicians that we are following, believe me, if you get hurt, if we do very well, it's to visit you once, and that's it. If you are caught with ballot papers or other things, we will denounce you. We will say we don't know you. Why will you want to exchange yourself for me? I'm not saying hate me. You are my supporter. Canvass my good things. Do same with whoever. It's about choice. Let's love this country more than ourselves. It's the only way we can make this country better. So my plea with all of us, especially everyone who gets the opportunity to participate along the chain of the election, let's have our country at heart. And let's make sure that we will not do anything that will lead to violence or create confusion that could mar the beauty of this year's election. If we do that, our democracy will come out more victorious. I know that God is the one that chooses leaders. But you see, in Islam, the Prophet has taught us something. That when a good thing is coming, you pray that it comes to your city or your country. If it comes to your country, pray that it comes to your city. If it comes to your city, pray that it comes to your neighborhood. When it gets to your neighborhood, pray that it comes into your house. When it gets into your house, pray that it comes into your room. It is on this that I take this opportunity to plead with Ghanaians. Let's vote for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and vote for the NDC parliamentarians. Because if you vote for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and you don't put enough parliamentarians in the house for him, with what is happening now, oh my goodness, there will be a lot of trouble for him. So I believe that by the grace of God, as NDC, we are going to be victorious this election. It is my prayer that the good Lord will guard and protect all of us. All those who have been all these kind of wild things, will do this with it. Oh God, we pray. Don't just give them that opportunity to be able to do it. If there are no people who want to, change their mind to do the right thing, God, you know what you can do so that we can live in peace and have an election that we'll be proud of as a country, and will continue to be the beacon in the sub-region, not only in the sub-region, but the whole continent and the world. So my prayer and wish is that I wish all my colleagues a very peaceful election and successful election, so that we'll meet back in the House joyously and happily in the majority.
Mubarak, Mohammed, Muntaka, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for hosting us. And so that is it with another edition of Hard Talk, exclusive on GHOne TV. Good day.